Manchester City have announced plans for a David Silva statue outside the Etihad Stadium to commemorate his 10 years at the club. Mark Ogden, you're not having it. Why?
No, I just think that there's this kind of rush to, build statues or declare people as the best player the club's ever had or the best foreign player the Premier League's ever had. And I think if you're going to have a statue, you need a bit of time and perspective before people start building statues. And for me, it's not even been City's most important player in the last 10 years. I think, you look at Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero, Yaya Toure, they all come ahead of David Silva for me. He's been a great player. A lot of City fans will rate him as their number one. But for me, Man City are a club that have got over 100 years of history. They were one of the biggest clubs in the 40s and 50s. They had a bit of a bad time later on, but they've got some great iconic players from those days. And if I was a Man City board member or somebody at the club, I'd think, right, let's reflect our great history, because one of the accusations levelled against Man City in recent years is that they're a club that's been built purely on money from Abu Dhabi, that their history doesn't exist before 2008. Well, let's have a reaction to that and say, actually, no, we've got great players from the 50s, the 60s that are worthy of a statue. Let's honour them first, and let's talk about the great names from the past, which makes people realise that City have a history, a proud history, prior to 2008. And then, in 50 years' time, maybe let's talk about David Silva. Well, not now. He's only just left the building, and they're talking about a statue. It's ridiculous.
What about Vincent Kompany then? Because there is said to be a tribute for him also to be unveiled in 2021. Would you be behind that?
Well, in a similar way to what I just said, that it still feels a bit recent, but if you had to pick the most influential City player the last 10, 12 years, I would say Kompany, because he's been the iconic leader. He's been the standout player. That he was there. I think he came like a week or two before the takeover, so he's seen the whole rise right the way through. But for me, this will be lost on our younger viewers, but there are people like Colin Bell, Mike Summerby, Francis Lee, Bert Troutman. Bert Troutman played in the FA Cup final with a broken neck, and they won that game. This is the sort of thing that makes people legends. Not playing for 7-8 years in a club that's had great resources thrown at it. Let's talk about the players that have made the club what they are, rather than just kind of trying to win a social media point by giving it to a player that's just left the club. David Silva's not even retired. He's still playing. He could be back there next season or year after in Europe with Real Sociedad. So let's have a bit of perspective. Let's save the statues of people that that have faded from memory in a little way, but have still made a big contribution to the club.
So you're not having one for Stephen Ireland then, Man City's player of the season in 2009?
Well, there are a lot of players in the past that, people like Paul Dickov, again, if we're talking about players that have made a massive contribution, Paul Dickov scored perhaps the most important goal in Man City's history when he scored an equalising goal in the playoff final against Gillingham in 1999. City were in the third tier back then. If they hadn't won that game, who knows what would have happened to Man City? That might have been, they might have folded. There were people telling me at the time that City could have gone into liquidation had they not been promoted. So that goal that Dickov scored was probably more important to the club's history than Sergio Aguero's goal in 2012, which won the title. Give Paul Dickov a statue. Don't give it to the guys that have just turned up in the last 10 years. And, it's not been a hard decision to play for Man City in the last 10 years, has it? If you're Paul Dickov, it would have been a trial having to go to Man City. As he told me last year, wash your own kit, that sort of thing. When it was really hard to be a Man City player, he stuck around and made a big impression. Let's honour the players from the past rather than the players that have just retired. He's not even retired, has he?
No, he hasn't. He's just upset Lazio, as you said, to go to Real Sociedad. But what about there's plenty of football clubs who do, like Arsenal have got their statues.
Yeah, they have. And I think with that one, they moved to a new stadium and they wanted to decorate the new stadium. And you can't argue with Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, but obviously they were unveiled a bit closer to them retiring as well. So the same thing applies to those really, because same logic applies to David Silva as Thierry Henry. But Arsenal have another great history. So it's difficult, isn't it? You look at Man United; they've got tributes to George Best, Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, great players from the 60s. So Alex Ferguson's got a statue. I just think you need to have a bit of time between finishing playing and getting a statue. It's too early. You can't have a statue while you're still playing.
No. So the statue of David Silva will be unveiled in 2021 at the Etihad Stadium. Just don't expect to bump into Mark Ogden there.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.